Rise of Floodborn is finally here, and we know all the cards and we know what the starter decks have. But let's say you're on a budget or you're taking part in the starter deck tournament. Which one do you pick and which one provides the better value? Let's find out. Hi everyone, this is D7 from Mush Report, and I'm glad to say that all the cards from Rise of Floodborn are now all fully into the wiki, including even the French and German languages. So since everything is done with the wiki, let's jump right into the products. We're going to be seeing the two starter decks today, starting off with the Tactical Teamwork starter deck with Amber and Sapphire. So we're going to see which one works out better as well as which is a better value. On the Amber side of things, you mainly have two different parts to the strategy. First one is the 7 doors that actually work well together. For example, Dopey, who actually gives you extra strength to your other 7 doors, or otherwise you have Bashful, who can only quest when there's other 7 doors on the board, but he actually has 3 law at 4 cost, so that's a really efficient amount of stats. That's the idea, while the other part of it is going to be, of course, about the Queen. Because for the Queen, she has a 1 cost 2/2 character, which is a vanilla. But for turn 2, you can actually shift directly into her 5 cost version for the Queen, where she can reduce the strength of another character while building up the strength of your own characters. That said, the Amber side of things, a lot of them have a lot of lore. For example, your Christopher Robin. Also, you just want to flood out the field, you have a lot of characters on your board. Then Christopher Robin can benefit because when he readies and there's 2 other characters on the board, then you can gain extra lore. So that's how the idea works out for the Amber part. While for the Sapphire part, it focuses a bit more on the item side of things. Mainly, the best item that you want to play with is, of course, Popsicle. Because Popsicle, when you play this card, you actually draw a card. So it's really simple. For 1 cost, you draw a card, and when you banish it, you remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. So that's really efficient. So how do you actually play it is by actually getting card draw from Popsicle, draw 1 card. After that, you can play stuff like Judy Hopps. By banishing the item, you get to draw a card. Or of course, Hiram Flaversham, you can actually banish your item card to draw 2 cards instead. So this is the part of the deck which gives you your card draw. Because Gaston also gives you card draw. He's basically develop your brain by turn 4 if you manage to shift into him by using your 3-drop Gaston over here, Baritone Bully, into Gaston Intellectual Tinker. Then you also have your item cards that can do damage by the effect of launch, because when you banish one of your chosen items, you can deal 5 damage to a chosen character. So that's the idea, and of course your things can work nicely together with your 4,000 eggs, which gives everyone resist until the following turn, and it's a song card that is a cost 4, so you can sing it with, for example, the Queen, because by turn 2 you can shift into your 5 cost Queen, and then you get to sing 4,000 eggs, and that's the Tactical Teamwork deck. So these two parts kind of work well together, one side bringing you support to actually just get card draw, which all the cards that you draw into is hopefully meant to build up the board, so you have a lot of characters to actually be there to use for your Christopher Robin's effect, or basically just gather your 7 doors together so that they can all just beat out your opponent with the collective team synergy, with their extra strength, while also questing for extra lore. So that's the idea for the Tactical Teamwork deck. If I were to improve this deck, I think the main idea is that you want to add in your Popsicle and of course your Nick Wow. Because Nick Wow, when he's played, he actually brings back your Popsicle, so the whole thing just gets your Retriever. Then of course with Nick Wow taking back your Popsicle, that means you get to reuse your abilities of the Hiram Flaversham, your Judy Hopps, all of them get to be reused. Even your launch, you can get to use them multiple times. So that's the idea with a Nick Wow. Then let's not forget the Amber side of things. What will help out over here is going to have, of course, the Snow White for the 7 dwarfs. Then because that Snow White is on the board, then your 7 dwarfs can be played at 1 cost cheaper. So that's really useful. Then aside from that, you just want to build up more into the 7 dwarf strategy, because they can really get you a lot of lore really quickly when the right cards are on the board, with your Bashful. And of course your Sleepy. Sleepy is a 2 cost character with 2-3 fantastic stats. He just comes in exerted, but he gives you 2 lore. So what's not to like? So this deck is meant to just storm the board, gain lore fast. And that is the Tactical Teamwork deck. Moving on, we have Might and Magic, which of course is mainly inspired by your Wizards duel between Merlin and Madam Mim. So that's the idea for this deck. For the Merlin and Madam Mim part, it's really simple. I think everybody should be familiar with the strategy by now, but if you're not yet, it's very simple. Your Merlin is supposed to give you your card advantage. For example, your Rabbit, when you play this character and when he leaves play, you draw a card. So you want to make use of Merlin's Rabbit a lot more by getting the Madam Mims to just bounce back your Merlin Rabbit, and then you can just bring out Merlin Rabbit again to just make use of his card draw ability a lot more. And you're gonna really need it because in this deck, there isn't really much of a card draw other than just Merlin Rabbit, because all the other cards that you see over here, none of them actually have a card draw ability. The only one that's slightly close is, for example, your Cinderella and your Huntsman, which both of them allow you to draw a card, then you discard a card. So they don't really add on to the number of cards you have, but what they do is filter through your cards quickly so that you make sure that you have the right cards in your hand. So that is the Magic side of things with your Merlin and your Madam Mim. Then moving on to the Might side of things, okay, is your Steel cards. So your Steel, they actually also are pretty much big stat characters that have a lot of strong abilities. One of the main benefits you have for this deck is, of course, Resist. It's the only one which has Resist. So you have your Prince, your Tiana, and of course, Krong. Krong is going to be your big boss character for the deck, especially for both decks, simply because Krong is 6 cost, is the only 6 cost character in both decks. That aside, you have abilities like Last Cannon to just add on more strength to your characters with Challenger and then just bash into your opponent's stuff. And of course, Mouse Armor is probably one of the key cards in this deck, simply because it just adds on Resist. It's going to really protect your stuff and make it a lot more survivable. That's how I put it. And Benja is also a good counter for the Tactical Teamwork deck, because when you play this character, you can banish an item and he has 2 copies inside the deck as well. So Benja is definitely a good counter for the opponent's deck. So that's the main idea. But how am I going to improve this deck? Pretty simple. One, you're going to need more copies of Merlin Rabbit, just that because there's only 1 copy since it's a rare. So you want more copies of Merlin Rabbit to just get that card draw faster, while using more copies of Madam Mim as well to make use of that Merlin Rabbit better, while bring out your higher stat characters even earlier to take control of the board. Because guess what? The Madam Mims actually are pretty strong themselves as well. Then to make use of the Merlins better, you gotta add in Gruesome and Grim, because that's the one that brings out your Merlin Goat and your Merlin Rabbit really quickly to actually just hit into your opponent's stuff, because they gain rush, and after that they get banished, but you still gain the benefit of gaining law or drawing a card after that. So Gruesome and Grim is a good card to improve this deck. Another way to improve the deck is the card that I got to review, Weight Set, because there's actually a lot of characters over here that have 4 strength or more. Of course, you have Krong, and then you have Prince Naveen. Aside from these 2 over here, you even have stuff like your Merlin Goat, which can bring out through your Gruesome and Grim to gain you more law quickly, just hit your opponent's stuff, and then you draw cards at the same time using Weight Set. And of course, you have this Dr. Fossilia here and Madam Mim Fox. All these are cards that will nicely trigger Weight Set to get you more card draws. So it all works well for this deck. So that's how I improve both decks. But that said, let's say if we are going to be playing in a starter deck event for pre-release, I'm sure some of them are lined up for this weekend and you're maybe planning to join 1 or 2. Which of these decks is better? Do you actually go for kind of the swarm strategy with the tactical teamwork with 7 dwarves and all that, and just gain your item synergy with Popsicle? Actually sounds really good, right? Or do you go with Might and Magic? Just it doesn't have that much card draw other than Merlin Rabbit, but it cycles pretty well with your Cinderella and Huntsman just to make sure that you get the cards that you need. And it also counters the opponent's deck, which is your Benja to just take out the item cards. And it also has Krong and other ways to actually just protect yourself with Resist and all that good stuff. Which is better? I think it definitely, for a gameplay wise side of things, it will have to be Might and Magic. Why? It's just because the stats are a lot stronger. Sure, your tactical teamwork, you actually can bring out a lot of characters a lot quicker, but then if they're all just going to be smaller than your opponent's characters and they just get beaten down really quickly, does it really matter that much? You just want your characters to be big, and actually take them out, which this one is really going to help you with that. With example, your Merlin Crab is also going to give your characters extra strength. Cusco, I forgot about that. It actually gives you card draw as well. But there's actually one key reason why I think this deck would actually win over Tactical Teamwork. And I think this might be a surprise for some of you, because the key ingredient to making this deck the winner out of the two decks in a gameplay aspect of things is going to be Hey Hey. Because Hey Hey, when he's banished in a challenge, then he goes back to your hand. Aside from that, if he's banished in any other ways, he does not go back to hand. But do you notice something? If you actually look at the Tactical Teamwork deck, they don't have any way to just remove Hey Hey from play aside from launch. No other way. Every other way is just regarding doing challenges and hoping to just pump them up and destroy the characters. Of course, there's Fang Crossbow, but that doesn't apply. So yes, it's just all going to be all about challenges, which means Hey Hey is actually a way to make sure that you stay in advantage. I know that I said in my rating video that Hey Hey, you just want to use it once and get it back to hand and then use it for ink and that's it. But in this scenario, Hey Hey can actually make sure you maintain the amount of card advantage you need. You might not have as much card draw as the other deck, but your Hey Hey is basically immortal. It's really a very good card in this matchup that will actually help you out. So if you're going to be playing a starter deck event for this weekend, make sure you hang on to your Hey Heys before you mulligan, because it will really help you out a lot. And that's how I look at the two decks. But now we've covered the gameplay side of things. What about the value side of things? Which of these two decks provide you more value? Now, I'm going to say that both decks are similar in terms of rarity. They are similar to the starter decks from the first chapter, where there's going to be one super rare, which is one of the cover characters, and there's 5 rares out of the entire deck. So that's 6 higher rarity cards. The rest of them are all uncommons and below. And of course, some of them are from the first chapter, but that's besides the point here. We are talking about mainly the higher rarity cards to actually give you some value. So which of these are better? If I'm going to look at it, I think that the Tactical Teamwork deck provides you that bit more value. Because for the 5 rare cards that you get for Tactical Teamwork, you get your Grand Duke. Okay, that's not fantastic. You have Winnie the Pooh, which is quite nice. Hiram Flaversham, you have Christopher Robin, and you have your Gaston. And of course, your super rare is the Queen. So these 2 Floodborns, there's only 2 Floodborns inside this deck and 0 Floodborns in the other. The 2 Floodborns are both pretty nice, especially the Queen is a card which I expect a lot of people playing Amber to definitely consider, because she's one way to let you access 5 costs by turn 2. That means you can start singing 5 cost cards by turn 2 if you're playing the Queen. So that's one thing that definitely should be considered, and that's the main reason why I think that this deck gives you more value. And there's a lot of very good cards as well. You have your Gaston Baritone Bully, which is also a really nice card for the Ember deck because he gets sings 5 costs by turn 3. And aside from that, your Gaston Intellectual Powerhouse is also another really good card to just shift into and just get more card draw. Then of course you have your item synergy card. There's been many people who've been trying to make item decks work. That means you're going to need cards like Hiram Flaversham and Judy Hopps just to get you more item synergy. So this is all the nice stuff that works well together in the deck. So this one provides you that bit more value in my opinion. Even Winnie the Pooh helps because there's people who are considering how to put him into the deck for the Bell Strange But Special to just get your ink even faster. Compared to over here, your main good rares, I believe, is gonna be Merlin Rabbit. Fox, I think, is not bad, but that one, people have different opinions. I think that Madam Mim Snake is that bit better in my opinion, because that at just 1 extra strength for that 1 extra cost, I'm not too sure is that worth it. Because for me, I think I mentioned this before in my other rating video, I think that the Merlins are all great, but Madam Mims, I think they're okay, but I think there's better way to make use of them. But the main thing is, after you've seen the entire Rise of Floodborn, I'm not so sure about you, but I don't think I've seen a deck that outright makes use of Tiana that well. There aren't really any cards aside from Tiana so far that actually lets you benefit from just having no more cards left in hand. Maybe there needs to be a bit more of that before you can actually consider making Tiana work out as a deck. So as a super rare, she's definitely not as good as the Queen in my opinion. And then your other rares, which is your Krong, many people are talking, is he really better than Tinkerbell, Giant Fairy? I think it sort of varies on what you want to use, but I think he's just alright. Probably many people are still going to use Tinkerbell for just the ability to shift into her by turn 4. And then, of course, you have your Huntsman, which is also a nice ability to just keep on filtering every turn. Just that he only has 1/1 stat, so that's not really good. He's not going to survive that long. So, yeah, I think that on the rare side, better bang for your buck for the cards that are better in terms of value after you want to just dismantle them and make use of them in your decks. I think that the tactical teamwork with your Ember Sapphire cards are better, while if you're taking part in a pre-release event, I feel that this Might and Magic with the Amethyst Steel is that bit stronger in my opinion, because it has the ways to actually counter your opponent with Benja and with Hey Hey, and not much else from the opponent to take out Hey Hey. And that's my thoughts for these two decks. So for everyone watching, do you agree with me? Do you think that tactical teamworks provide you more value, while the Might and Magic is that bit stronger in just a pure starter deck matchup alone? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you everyone for watching. This is D Summon from Mushu Report, signing out.